a teenage girl who was raped and gave birth to a baby. Hello, viewers of BigTown TV. In this episode, we take you through a very sad story of a teenage girl of 15 years old who was raped by a man of 25 years old. The said rapist disappeared shortly after learning that this innocent girl was carrying his child. Now, before we get any further, let's dig deep and understand what happened before it all came to this. Just to warn you, this is a very emotional story that also calls for your help so that justice will be served for this young girl very soon. This girl, call her Josephine. She doesn't remember very well her home village, but by and large, she is from the western province of Rwanda, precisely Kibuye. But her parents passed away. Her relatives chased both her and her elder sister out of their father's home. And without elsewhere to go, the two orphans were left helpless. And so she decided to come to Kigali, the capital city of Rwanda, seeking for a job at 12 years old. And she becomes a housemaid. Now, suddenly, after some time living in the city working as a housemaid, the young girl met a man who relentlessly was chasing after Josephine, but Josephine was too much focused on her job. Unfortunately, one day the crafty man lured her to his house in what was said to be seemingly a one-time visit, and he raped this innocent girl. And to make matters worse, he impregnated this young girl.
Twaramenye yinaza kunsaba ko njya kumusura iwe njya kumusura.
Ugeze mu rugo iyo byagenze gute?
Se mu rugo we nyine amfata ku ngufu.
The girl says she met this man at Kimisagara, and they had only known each other for a period of 5 months. Josephine also claims it was easy for them to see each other on a regular basis because the man was just in her neighborhood. More surprising is that the poor girl learned that she has a baby 5 months into the pregnancy. Can you imagine? She got this information from mature women who used to meet her and wonder about her body features at her young age. More surprisingly is that the poor girl learned that she has a baby, as she had a baby, 5 months into the pregnancy. Can you imagine? Before you start judging why this girl agreed to visit the man she only knew from next door, let's consider the fact that she is an orphan girl. She is a minor in a new city that she barely knows anyone. This man invited Josephine to visit him at his house, but Josephine declined his offers repeatedly. Now, one day, he once again invited her, and Josephine finally honored the invitation. She went, of course. It appears the man had been planning this plot for some time, and his fingers were crossed each time he invited the girl to his house. Once the girl was in the house, the guy began to talk nasty words in suggesting manner in a... Once the girl was in the house, the guy began to talk some nasty words in a suggestive way of playing sex with the poor girl. Before Josephine could know it, the guy had locked the door and forcefully engaged her into unwanted sex in just a blink of an eye. After 1 month, the poor minor had not immediately understood that the sexual engagement was an act of rape committed against her because it was simply unwanted. She had remained quiet like nothing happened. However, some months later, she began looking for this manipulative man, asked his friends about where he was, but in vain. Unfortunately, the man had learnt about his evil deeds and fled the area. It was too late though, because the girl had lost her periods and she had just learned that she was already pregnant. Just in case you're wondering whether this was a crime or an act of mutual consent, that is for you viewers to judge. Our job is to give you the facts on the ground without beating around the bush. When we asked Josephine why she never reported this crime soon after it had happened, the girl noted that she was scared because the accused man had fled the area, and to make matters worse, she didn't know his name. As the pregnancy grew, the girl's strength grew weaker and unable to work, and so her boss had to let her go. And now, left with nowhere to go, she decides to travel back to her home village to stay with her elder sister as she waited to give birth. Soon after she gave birth, she decides to return to the city to find work because she didn't have enough money to support both her and the baby. Now, amazingly, as the teenage mother returns to the city in the middle of the crisis, she got discovered by a stranger who was concerned of her well-being, and she took her in. But that is not the end of the story. This woman has a big heart because Josephine claims that she lives in a family of 8 people in a tiny house with 1 bedroom and 1 sitting room, making the place overcrowded for everyone in that family. Now, the hostess tries her best to provide food and other basic needs, but at the moment, she's struggling to provide for all, including Josephine and her baby. Josephine's wish to generous people who are out there watching this video is to get more room for a hostess to accommodate everyone in the family in this crowded house.
ubushobozi twasaba nuko batwubakira nk'ibyumba 2 wenda tukisanzura n'ibyo kurya wenda nabyo akoresha uko ashoboye bikaboneka ariko nyine ntabwo babihagije.
At the moment, the baby is 11 months old, and I can only imagine that she went through a traumatic experience for a teenager to get raped and give birth to a baby who has no father, with no parents, with no income to sustain her needs, with no place to call home. And by the way, she should be in school and not on the job market looking for petty jobs to survive. We hope that she gets all the help that she needs, and we pray that may the law bring the man, the accused man, to justice for causing all this misfortune to this poor child. Now, Josephine's message to all the girls who could be watching this video is to report any incident of rape as soon as it happens before it's too late.
Uko nabwira abantu bajya babatera inda bajya babivuga babakurikirane bataracika.
Meet Naomi, Josephine's guardian and hostess. She says she found her on the roadside looking helpless, and she also learned that the teenage mother was looking for domestic work for money. Her desperate situation touched Naomi, and she bought her some lunch and left her with a phone number to stay in touch. In their phone conversations, Naomi also learned that the poor girl was homeless. However, Josephine was also honest to admit that prior to that, she was living with reckless roommates whom were influencing her negatively, and she couldn't live there anymore. Immediately, Naomi decided to bring Josephine to her place to stay with her.
Josephine nari ndi Kimironko ko n'ubundi ariho nkorera umutambuka bamusanga ku muhanda yicaye ndamubaza bite ati bite wa mwana we ko mbona uteruye undi natekereza ko ari nkana akora wenda ko yaba yarangaye wenda sakaba ari nk'uburangare bw'abana bakora mu ngo arambwiye ati ndamubaza ati bite uwo mwana no wandi aransubiza ati uyu mwana no wanjye ndangije mitangira gutya mitamwegera maze mu kumwegera ndamubaza ati none suri kujya hehe ndi kugenda ndeba ahantu najya gukora ikiraka cyo gufura.
In her intimate talk with Josephine to know her story, the guardian says it was very difficult for the poor girl to speak her situation or her feelings. And she pointed out that she was raped by a mason who lured her into his house on her way to the market to shop. And after this incident, he gave the girl 2,000 francs, Rwandan francs, to keep quiet. Naomi adds that the girl is an orphan and doesn't know her father because her mother died before she could tell her who her father was. You may be wondering, what did law enforcement do about all this? case. Naomi notes that Rwanda Investigation Bureau supported Josephine with 4 months' rent, fees, along with baby supplies. When the paid rent was done, this is when, after she gave birth, Josephine and her sister had no money left to pay the house, and so both of them agreed to go separate ways to survive, while her elder sister went to her biological father. Unfortunately, her only surviving grandmother had just died during the same period, and out of desperation, Josephine had to go back to Kigali. As we conclude, Naomi encourages all young women to report all acts of sexual violence on time so that justice can be served and the criminals to face the law accordingly. She strongly believes that criminals who are found guilty of this crime should be punished severely because they are destroying the future of young children, and it's unacceptable that some criminals walk away from the law unpunished. The generous hostess agrees that she has a heavy burden on her shoulders because she has to provide and feed 8 heads every day. Naomi is worried because Josephine and her baby don't have a health insurance cover, which makes it even difficult for her in her household of conflicting needs with one breadwinner to cater for everything. Our viewers of BigTown TV, Naomi is calling you to help Josephine, the teenage mother, get health insurance, and in addition, she currently lives in 1 bedroom and 1 sitting room house with 8 children under one roof. She believes a bigger house with more rooms can solve the congestion problem. If you want to help Naomi, who is Josephine's guardian, kindly call the number on this link below this channel, which is 078 70 39 800. If you like this story, please share it to a friend and remember to subscribe for more human interest stories. Thank you for watching BigTown TV.